I want to begin discussion of this topic by asking for a favor from the viewers first. I know this is a highly contested subject, and that you've surely seen and heard many things. Many of you will have already formed a strong opinion on the matter, one way or the other. But please do your best to keep an open mind and think about what I say here in an unbiased way. I don't want to so much discuss whether Rittenhouse is guilty or innocent in his actions. That is for the court to do. More so, whether or not his going there can be justified in the capacity that he claimed. His claim is he went there foremost to protect property, and secondly, to provide medical assistance to any who need it. Let's establish a few things before we begin. I am going to be speaking generally here and using good faith assumptions of people's actions. This may or may not be wholly representative to the incident in question, but it is done so to paint a broader narrative that doesn't impugn anyone. I have heard many people utter phrases similar to the following: Rittenhouse shouldn't have been there, or Rittenhouse had no right to be there. But is that true? Did the combatants or rioters have any more right to be there than Rittenhouse? Let's examine the situation and see what it really looks like. Let's start off with describing the scenario of what took place. We have a young man who idolizes the protectors in his village. Let's call them warriors. We know this because he's offered to help them and has, in fact, trained with them in several different situations. Furthermore, he also loathes and despises those that would ransack or pillage others. We know this based on video evidence from a previous incident in which the young man commented as much in a video. In the video, the young man and his friend watch a store being looted, and he remarks on wishing that he had his weapon to stop the crime and punish the criminals. The young man in question lives in a village about 30 minutes away from the village named Kenosha. However, he has family, friends, and even works in the village of Kenosha, despite not living there. This could make Kenosha feel like his home, despite it actually not being his home. One day, a group of combatants shows up to the village of Kenosha. They proceed to start burning it down, destroying people's lives and property, and the village warriors, in this case the police, are told to stand down and let it happen. Again, the next night comes, and the same thing happens. Combatants show up, they burn down buildings, destroying people's lives and property. Again, the warriors do nothing. Now a third night is coming, and there's no reason to expect that anything will be any different. The combatants will come, they will wrought more destruction, and they will leave. How long will this go on for? Nobody knows. The young man sees this as a desperate situation. How much of the village should they be allowed to destroy? How many people's lives and livelihoods should be destroyed for the selfishness of the combatants? He decides he can't stand idly by any longer. He decides to become a combatant himself to try and defend the city. The young man grabbed his weapon, as well as his medical supplies, and headed into the city to meet up with other like-minded defenders. From this point, I am simply going to discuss the moral aspects of the alleged situation without commenting any further on the actual situation at hand. Again, the legal situation is for the court to determine. In the previously given example, I think it's more than reasonable to assume a young man who idolizes warriors would attempt to step up in their absence or in case of negligence of the warriors he idolized. To risk oneself for another or for the greater good in a society is usually considered a just cause. I believe in the example I gave that even if the young warrior were to violate some customs, in this case laws, in the process, he would still be within his moral right to defend that village. More so maybe even those than who sought to destroy said village. Now, I want to move on to address another moral concern I have heard related to this case. Like I mentioned before, days prior, this whole incident, the teen made some remarks about wanting to use his weapon to stop some looters while he was sitting outside of a CVS. Now, I want to preface this by saying no one should ever wish to harm others, even if the other person is committing a despicable act. However, even with acknowledging these truths, does it actually bear any relevance to that fateful evening? Let's examine that. Did the young warrior attack people who were engaged in looting? No. Did the young warrior attack people who were engaged in rioting? No. Did the young warrior attack people who were engaged in arson? No. He saw plenty of that going on, but never engaged them in any kind of physical confrontation or threatened them with his weapon. In fact, just the opposite. Testimony from that night from other warriors who went there suggests that Kyle rendered aid to anyone regardless of whether they were friend or foe. He did not discriminate in who he aided. And furthermore, the court determined the only time he attempted to use his weapon in a forceful way was against the specific individuals of Grosskreutz, Rosenbaum, Huber, and one unnamed man. All of these individuals were found to have endangered Kyle and thus provoked his right to use his weapon in self-defense. My closing comments on this topic are the following. This was a very sad situation that didn't need to happen. Everyone is happy with the right to exercise violence up until the point where violence is used against them. If you do not wish violence enacted upon you, it is best not to enact violence upon others. Full stop. Thank you guys for watching. As always, may love guide your heart, wisdom your mind, and intelligence your actions.